The rain never stopped on Colony 9. It fell like cold silver needles from the dark clouds that never left the alien sky. The humans who lived there called it the crying planet. Every night, the sound of the storm filled the empty metal halls of the colony. Ethan Cross was used to the noise. He worked alone in the maintenance bay, fixing drones and broken helmets. Most of the colonists had gone home hours ago, but Ethan stayed behind. He liked the quiet. He liked machines more than people. But that night, something strange broke the rhythm of the rain. A faint sound, low and trembling. It was not the wind. It was not the hum of a generator. It sounded like a whimper. Ethan froze. He turned off his wrench. The bay went silent except for the storm outside. Then he heard it again, and closer this time. A soft cry like a wounded animal. He grabbed his flashlight and followed the sound down the corridor. The floor was wet. The lights flickered. The noise came from the storage deck where no one went after dark. He hesitated at the door, then pushed it open. The beam of his flashlight caught something on the floor, a trail of glowing blue drops. Blood, but not human. It led to the corner behind a pile of cargo crates. Ethan's heart began to race. "Hello?" he whispered. "Is someone there?" Something moved. Slowly, painfully, a creature crawled into view. It had the shape of a wolf, but its fur shimmered like starlight. Its eyes glowed gold. Its front paw was torn and bleeding. But when it looked at him, Ethan saw intelligence, fear, pain, and awareness. He took a step back. "Easy. I'm not going to hurt you," the creature growled, showing sharp silver teeth. But then it slumped, too weak to stand. Its breathing was shallow. Rain dripped from its fur, hissing on the metal floor. Ethan's instincts argued with his orders. The colony rulebook said, "If you find alien life, report immediately." But something in those eyes stopped him. The creature wasn't attacking. It was dying. "Hang on," he muttered. He ran to grab a med kit from his bench. When he came back, the creature had tried to crawl away but had collapsed again. Ethan knelt beside it. He tore open a seal, spraying biofoam on the wound. The creature shuddered but didn't bite. Instead, it stared at him, curious, confused. "You'll be fine," he said softly. "Just don't die on me, okay?" He lifted its head gently. Its fur was warm, almost electric. Then, to his shock, the creature whispered, not a growl in words, "You smell human." Ethan froze. The voice was faint but clear, feminine and full of exhaustion. He blinked, trying to understand. "You can talk?" The creature's eyes dimmed. "Not talk. Remember." Then it passed out. Ethan sat there in the dim light, heart pounding. He should have called security right away. Instead, he looked at the creature again. She was too strange, too beautiful to be abandoned. He wrapped her in a thermal sheet and carried her to his private repair shed. The storm outside howled as if warning him, but he ignored it. Inside, he placed her on his workbench, surrounded by drone parts and glowing tools. For hours, he worked to close the wounds. He didn't even notice time passing. When dawn came, the rain stopped. For the first time in weeks, the sky above Colony 9 cleared, showing a pale green sunrise. Ethan sat beside the sleeping creature, now breathing slowly and peacefully. He noticed a tag around her neck, metallic, alien, inscribed with symbols he couldn't read. He reached to touch it. The moment his fingers brushed the tag, her eyes snapped open, glowing brighter than before. Ethan jumped back, startled. Her pupils narrowed like a predator's. Then, in a voice stronger than before, she said softly, "You saved me." He swallowed hard. "You're welcome." Her gaze locked on him, intense, unblinking. "You shouldn't have now. We are linked." Before Ethan could speak, she closed her eyes again, whispering one more strange phrase. "Soon, you will understand." Ethan looked at her glowing form lying under the faint morning light and felt a chill. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this was not just a rescue. It was the beginning of something much larger. Outside, the wind shifted. From the mountains far away, faint howls echoed across the valley, the same sound as hers. And in that moment, Ethan realized something terrifying. Whatever she was running from had just found him. The sun rose weakly over Colony 9, painting the clouds a dull green. The storm had passed, but the ground still shimmered with wet dust. Ethan Cross hadn't slept. He sat by the side of the glowing alien creature, the one who had whispered words no human should have ever heard. She was breathing now, steady and calm. Her fur still glowed faintly in patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. Ethan didn't know her species, her world, or her purpose. But one thing he knew for sure: she wasn't just an animal. When she finally opened her eyes again, they met his directly, gold and bright like twin suns. Ethan froze. She studied him silently, her head tilted slightly, her ears twitching as if reading his thoughts. "You're awake," he said carefully. "Good. You scared me last night." The creature blinked slowly. "You, human. You help me." Ethan almost dropped his mug of cold coffee. She could speak again. Clearer this time, though her voice had a soft growl to it like a whisper between words. "Yeah," he said nervously. "You were hurt. I couldn't just leave you there." Her eyes narrowed slightly, but not in anger. More like curiosity. "Why?" Ethan hesitated. "Because it was the right thing to do." She tilted her head again. "Right. Thing," she repeated, testing the words as if they were new to her. Then, to his surprise, she smiled, or at least something close to a smile. Her sharp teeth glimmered under the light. He poured her a small bowl of water. She sniffed it, then drank slowly, her eyes never leaving his. When she finished, she said, "My name, Lyra." "Lyra," Ethan repeated softly. "That's actually beautiful." She looked down, touching her chest lightly with one claw. "You?" "Ethan," he said. "Ethan Cross." "Ethan," she said carefully, her voice shaping the name with effort. Then she leaned back against the wall, sighing. "You not afraid?" Ethan laughed lightly. "Oh, I'm terrified. But you don't seem like you want to hurt me." Lyra's tail flicked once. "If I wanted," she said, a faint growl in her tone, "you would not be alive." "Good to know," he said quickly. Then both of them laughed, awkwardly but real. Over the next few days, Ethan kept her hidden. He told the guards he was working on broken drone units. He stayed up late teaching Lyra human words, and in return she showed him strange things. How her kind could sense heat through walls, how their fur could shift colors to blend with shadows. She healed fast. The wounds that had looked fatal were now just faint marks, but sometimes when she thought he wasn't looking, she would stare out the window with a strange sadness. One evening, while Ethan adjusted a drone sensor, Lyra suddenly asked, "Why your people live here?" Ethan looked up. "Because Earth's getting smaller every year. We need more homes," she nodded slowly. "And when you find other homes, you take them?" The question hit hard. He didn't answer right away. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But I don't, I just fix machines." Lyra's ears lowered slightly and she looked away. "Machines break. Hearts too." Her words stunned him, not just because she understood so much, but because she sounded human. Later that night, while Ethan was closing his tools, Lyra suddenly walked close to him. Her golden fur shimmered brighter than ever. She looked straight into his eyes, her voice calm and deep. "I must tell you something," she said. Ethan set his wrench down. "What is it?" "In my world," she began, "when a canary, that is what I am, is saved from death by another, a bond forms. It is not a choice. It is life's command," he frowned. "A bond like friendship?" She shook her head. "Stronger. When my heartbeat stopped, yours called me back. Our spirits, now linked." Ethan's chest tightened. "Linked? What does that mean?" Lyra stepped closer, placing a clawed hand gently against his chest. "If I die," she said softly, "you will feel it. And if you die, I will follow." Ethan stared at her in shock. He wanted to laugh, deny it, but something in her eyes made him believe. He could almost feel her pulse echoing faintly through his own. She lowered her hand and whispered, "You changed fate, Ethan Cross, now it will change you." Outside, thunder rolled again in the distance and lights flickered through the windows. Ethan didn't know it yet, but far across the valley something else had felt the bond too. A call that awakened a hunt. The pack had found its lost member. And now they would come for both of them. The morning came quiet and heavy. The air outside the colony walls shimmered like glass under the pale green sun. But inside Ethan's workshop, silence felt fragile, like a string ready to snap. Lyra was sitting near the window, staring at the horizon. Her fur no longer glowed as brightly as before. She looked restless, her tail moving side to side. Ethan noticed it right away. "You haven't said a word since sunrise," he said softly. "Something wrong?" Lyra's ears twitched. "They are coming," she whispered. Ethan frowned. "Who?" She turned toward him, golden eyes filled with tension. "The patrol. Human soldiers. They search for me now. He froze. How do you know? I can smell them, she said quietly. Metal, oil, and fear. Many guns. Before Ethan could reply, a distant sound confirmed it. The low hum of hover vehicles approaching the colony perimeter. Alarms echoed faintly across the outpost. He cursed under his breath. Lyra stood up. Hide me. Ethan rushed to move crates and open the floor hatch that led to his storage pit. Get in here, he said quickly. Don't make a sound. She looked at him once more. You don't have to do this, he met her gaze. I know. But I want to. Lyra climbed down into the dark space beneath the floor. Her glowing fur dimmed until it was almost invisible. Ethan sealed the hatch just as a heavy knock slammed against the metal door. Maintenance bay, open up. A voice barked. Security sweep. Orders from Commander Hale. Ethan took a deep breath and opened the door. 2 armored soldiers stood outside, rifles on their shoulders, scanning devices in hand. Morning, Ethan said, trying to sound casual. The taller soldier spoke first. We're checking for unauthorized life forms. Long-range sensors picked up something warm and non-human in this sector last night. Ethan forced a laugh. Non-human? You mean one of those ghost readings again? Probably a broken drone reactor. Happens all the time. The soldier didn't laugh. Step aside, Ethan's stomach twisted. He stepped back as the soldiers entered. Their scanners beeped softly, green lights sweeping across walls, crates, and floors. The room was small, but to Ethan it felt endless. He could almost hear his own heartbeat. Beneath the floor, Lyra was silent. He prayed she wouldn't move, wouldn't breathe too loud. One of the soldiers paused near the hatch. The scanner flickered yellow. Hold on, he said. I'm getting a reading here. Ethan forced a smile. Probably my generator. That thing overheats like crazy. The soldier crouched down, tapping the panel with his glove. The scanner beeped again, louder this time. Strange. It's pulsing. Before he could check further, static filled their radios. Patrol Unit 7. The commander's voice crackled through. Fall back to perimeter gate. We've got movement outside the colony. Large signatures. Possible hostiles. Both soldiers tensed. Copy that, the taller one said quickly. He gave Ethan a final sharp look. Keep your bay sealed, mechanic. If you see anything, report immediately. Ethan nodded. Of course, the door slammed shut. He waited until their footsteps faded down the corridor before he finally let out the breath he'd been holding. He opened the hatch. Lyra climbed out slowly, her fur shimmering faintly again. Her eyes were serious. You risked much. Ethan gave a nervous chuckle. You think? She tilted her head. Why? You could have betrayed me. Because you're not my enemy, he said. You saved lives yesterday during the storm. You deserve a chance. Lyra's gaze softened. A chance, she repeated quietly. Few in my kind ever said those words. For a moment, they just stood there, silent but connected. Then Ethan asked, Who's out there, Lyra? The hostiles they mentioned. Are they your people? Her expression darkened. Yes, she said finally. They are my pack. Or they were. What do they want? Me, she said simply. And you now. Ethan felt a chill. Why me? She took a deep breath, her voice trembling slightly. Because when I almost died, our spirits touched. It wasn't only healing, Ethan. It was the canary link, life-sharing. They will sense it. They will come to claim it. Or destroy it. He stared at her, realizing the truth. Her kind could feel her through him. The bond she spoke of wasn't just mystical talk. It was real. Lyra stepped closer, placing a hand on his arm. You have no idea what you have done, she said softly. But now your fate runs with mine. Outside, another explosion echoed from beyond the walls. The colony lights flickered red. Ethan looked toward the window, smoke rising on the horizon. He turned back to Lyra. Then we'd better be ready. Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, she said. Because when the pack arrives, they won't ask questions. And as the alarm sirens wailed through the colony, Ethan understood that hiding was no longer an option. The hunt had already begun. The colony sky burned red. Sirens screamed across the outpost, warning everyone to take shelter. The ground trembled under the weight of explosions. Ethan ran out of his workshop, the heat from the blast brushing his face. In the distance, the defense walls flashed as plasma bolts rained from above. He looked up. Dozens of dark shapes were cutting through the clouds. The invaders had arrived. Behind him, the workshop door slid open. Lyra stepped out, her fur glowing brighter than ever. Her eyes shimmered gold, reflecting the fire in the sky. "They're here," she said, voice calm but heavy with pain. Ethan turned to her. "Your people?" She nodded slowly. "My pack." "The hunters." Another explosion rocked the ground, closer this time. Ethan grabbed a rifle from the rack, his hands shaking. "Then we have to defend the colony." Lyra's gaze hardened. "If you fight them, they'll kill you." "Then I'll die trying," Ethan said. For a moment, she said nothing. Then, with a soft growl, she grabbed his arm. "Not without me." They ran through the smoke-filled streets. Civilians were rushing toward shelters while soldiers took positions behind barricades. The air was full of static and screams. Drones zipped overhead, firing into the fog. But the Canary moved like shadows, fast, invisible until they struck. Ethan aimed his rifle, firing at the shapes that darted through the haze. He missed, then ducked as a plasma bolt scorched the ground near him. Lyra leapt past him in one swift motion, claws extended, teeth bared. She struck one of the attackers midair, the impact lighting the night with a burst of golden sparks. The soldier behind Ethan shouted, "Is that one of them?" "She's one of the creatures." Ethan shouted back, "She's with us." "Don't shoot!" But panic spread faster than reason. More soldiers aimed at her. Lyra crouched low, eyes glowing dangerously, her muscles tense. Ethan jumped in front of her. "Stop! She's saving your lives." The commander hesitated, just long enough for the next wave of enemies to strike. The outer fence exploded in blue fire, throwing metal shards in every direction. The soldiers ducked for cover as three massive Canary warriors charged through the breach, their fur gleaming like blades under the lightning. Ethan fired, the recoil slamming into his shoulder. Lyra moved like wind, fast, graceful, deadly. She took down one warrior with a powerful kick and a slash of her claws. The second lunged at her, growling something in their guttural language. Lyra replied in the same tongue, a challenge, a roar that made the creature hesitate. Ethan didn't understand the words, but he saw the meaning in her eyes. These weren't just enemies. They were family. The third Canary landed behind Ethan. He turned too late. The alien raised its weapon, but Lyra threw herself in front of him, taking the hit. The plasma bolt burned through her side. "Lyra!" Ethan shouted. She stumbled, growling through the pain. "Keep fighting," she hissed. "Don't stop now." He fired again and again until the attackers fell. Then he knelt beside her. Her blood shimmered silver in the dirt. She pressed her clawed hand to his chest. "Do you feel it?" she whispered. Ethan's heart pounded. But beneath it he felt something else. Another heartbeat, faint but real, echoing through his body. "You're hurt," he said. She smiled weakly. "If I died, you die. Remember the bond." He stared at her in horror. "Then you can't die. I won't let you." Before he could lift her, a blinding light filled the sky. The main defense tower had fired its plasma cannon, a last resort. The shockwave rolled through the colony, knocking them both off their feet. When the smoke cleared, the invaders were retreating. The surviving Canary howled as they vanished into the mist, leaving destruction behind. Ethan looked around. Half the colony in ruins, the walls cracked, the towers burning. He could hear faint cheers from the soldiers who thought the battle was won. But he knew better. He lifted Lyra into his arms. Her body was weak, her glow fading. "Stay with me," he said. "You're not leaving me, understand?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "You changed me, Ethan. You changed more than you know." As he carried her through the smoke, the sky flickered with strange light. And far beyond the clouds, deep in orbit, something enormous shifted. The real war, it seemed, had only just begun. The battle was over. At least that's what the soldiers believed. But inside Ethan's workshop, the war still raged quietly between life and death. Lyra lay on the repair bench, her fur dim, her breathing shallow. The burn on her side pulsed faintly, leaking streaks of silver light. Ethan worked non-stop for hours, sealing wounds with medical foam, using every drop of serum he could find. His hands trembled as he worked, not from exhaustion but fear. She had saved the colony. She had saved him. And now she was dying because of it. "Stay with me," Ethan whispered, pressing a bandage to her wound. "Come on, Lyra. Don't you dare quit now." Her eyes fluttered open slightly. "You, still talking," she rasped, a faint smile touching her lips. Humans never. Stop. Ethan let out a shaky laugh. You think I'm going to shut up when you're half dead? Lyra coughed weakly, then her eyes softened. I told you. Our lives are linked. My pain is your pain, he froze. His chest tightened. The pain he thought was stress. It wasn't. He could feel her heartbeat inside him faltering, fading. No, he said, grabbing her hand. You're not going anywhere. Not while I'm breathing. Her claws curled slightly, holding his hand back. You're stubborn, she whispered. That's good. Silence filled the room. Outside, rain began to fall again, washing blood and ash from the colony streets. The storm's rhythm matched the faint rise and fall of her breathing. Then, after what felt like forever, she spoke again. Ethan, you don't understand what you've done. He looked at her, confused. I saved you. That's all. She shook her head slowly. No, you did more. When you touched my life thread, when you refused to let me die and the bond deepened. The Canary call it Sci-Fi. What does that mean? He asked softly. Lyra's golden eyes shimmered faintly. It means 2 hearts, 1 pulse, 2 souls, 1 path. He tried to process her words. So we're connected? Spiritually? More than that, she said. Physically, too. Her gaze fell to her stomach. Ethan followed her eyes, confused, until he noticed the faint glow there. It pulsed gently, almost like another heartbeat. He frowned. Lyra, what is that? She smiled weakly, tears forming at the corners of her eyes.
Life.
Her hand moved to rest over her stomach. You should prepare, human, she whispered. We're having puppies. Ethan froze completely. Whoa, what? Her laugh came out weak but real. Don't look so frightened. It's not what you think. He blinked, still stunned. You're pregnant? With no, that's not possible. You're a canary. I'm human, she finished softly. Yes, and yet, life found a way. The bond made it possible. Your energy mixed with mine. Now, there is something new. He stared at her glowing hand, trying to understand. It wasn't like normal biology, it was something beyond science. Her species bond had somehow merged their life forces, creating something neither fully human nor fully canary. Lyra, he said slowly, what will they be? She smiled faintly. Bridges. Between your kind and mine. Children of 2 worlds. Ethan's throat tightened. He didn't know whether to cry or laugh. He just sat there staring at the soft glow under her palm. Then her smile faded. But they will be hunted, she whispered. My pack will not allow this. They will come again, not for me, but for them. Ethan's jaw clenched. Then they'll have to go through me first. Lyra looked at him, truly looked. And for a moment there was warmth in her eyes. Something almost human. You mean that? I do. She closed her eyes, whispering. Then maybe the universe chose well. Outside, thunder rolled across the hills. The storm was returning, darker this time. Ethan stood at the window, watching the sky glow red in the distance. The sensors were already picking up new movement and another incoming wave. He turned back to Lyra, who was slowly drifting into sleep. Rest, he said quietly. I'll handle it. Her voice was soft, fading. Ethan. Protect them. I will, he said. And as she slipped into unconsciousness, the glow beneath her hands brightened. 6 small, flickering lights, and Ethan knew nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. Days passed since the battle. The colony had gone quiet but not peaceful. Smoke still curled from broken towers and the smell of burnt metal hung in the air. Soldiers walked the streets whispering rumors about the alien wolf who fought beside a human. Inside the med bay, Ethan sat beside Lyra's bed. She was pale, her glowing fur dim and uneven like a fading flame. But the doctors didn't know what to do. Their scanners failed to read her body. Every test showed something impossible. Ethan had refused to leave her side. He barely slept, barely ate. Sometimes when he dozed off, he'd wake to the faint sound of 2 heartbeats. One his own, the other not. At first he thought it was just in his mind, until he pressed his palm to his chest and felt it. One heartbeat was his. The other was hers. He stumbled to the mirror, touching his skin where faint golden veins now shimmered under the surface. No, this can't be real, he whispered. But it was. The bond Lyra spoke of, Sci-Fi, was alive inside him. Her life was flowing through his body and something else too. He could feel it. Small rhythmic pulses. tiny heartbeats that didn't belong to either of them. He turned back to Lyra, whispering, "You weren't joking, were you? We're having puppies." "You meant it." Her voice was weak but steady. "They grow fast. Inside both of us. They are not like any before." Before Ethan could respond, the medbay door opened with a hiss. 3 officers entered, led by Commander Hale, a tall woman with steel-gray eyes. "Ethan Cross," she said coldly. "You are under investigation for violating containment protocols." He stood quickly. "What are you talking about?" "You sheltered a hostile alien, brought her into the colony, and hid her from security scans." Hale's gaze moved to Lyra. "And now, half our sensors are malfunctioning because of that thing's energy signature." "She's not a thing," Ethan snapped. "She saved this colony." "She saved your soldiers." The commander ignored his words, turning to her assistant. "Scan them both." The young officer hesitated. "Ma'am, the readings are strange." "They're sharing one biofield." Hale frowned. "Meaning?" "Meaning, their energy waves are fused. If we try to separate them, both might die." A cold silence filled the room. Then Hale's voice hardened. "They're a contamination risk. The council will decide what to do." Ethan stepped between them. "You're not taking her anywhere." "Stand down, Cross," Hale said. "You're thinking with your heart, not your head." "Maybe that's what this colony needs," he said quietly. Her eyes narrowed. "Resist and you'll be charged with treason." Ethan clenched his fists, but before he could speak, Lyra stirred weakly on the bed. "Leave him," she said softly, her voice cutting through the tension. "If you harm him, your scanners will die, your hearts will stop." Her fur glowed suddenly, filling the room with golden light. The officers stepped back, shielding their eyes. The lights flickered, machines hummed, and the air filled with static. Hale hissed, "What's happening?" Lyra opened her eyes fully, bright, radiant gold. "The bond protects itself," she said. "We are no longer 2. We are 1. Then the glow faded and she fell back against the bed, breathing hard. The officers quickly retreated, shaken. Hale gave Ethan one last glare. "You can't hide forever. The council will come for her and for you." When they were gone, the room went silent except for the soft hum of the monitors. Ethan looked at Lyra, his eyes full of worry. "They'll come soon," he said. "We can't stay here." Lyra's tail twitched weakly. "I know." Ethan sat beside her, taking her hand. "Where can we go?" She turned her head toward the window. Outside, the alien horizon stretched beneath twin moons glowing silver and blue. "There is a place," she whispered. "High mountains, deep caves, my kind avoid them. Old magic sleeps there." Ethan nodded. "Then that's where we'll go." Lyra's gaze softened. "Ethan, you're changing." "Your eyes," he frowned. "What about them?" "They shine." "Like mine." He blinked at the reflection in the metal wall. Faint golden light flickered in his pupils. He exhaled slowly. "Guess the bond's doing more than we thought." Lyra smiled faintly. "It means you're becoming one of us." Outside, thunder rolled again, but this time Ethan didn't feel fear. He felt something new pulsing inside him. Life, connection, and a fierce, protective instinct for what was coming next. The wind howled through the alien mountains. The night sky above was painted with 2 moons, one pale white, one soft gold. Snow glimmered under their light, falling silently over the cliffs. Ethan pushed forward through the storm, carrying Lyra in his arms. Her fur, once bright, now glowed faintly like fading embers. Behind them, the colony lights were distant specks hidden far below the valley. He could still hear the faint echo of alarms, but he didn't look back. "We're almost there," he said, his breath fogging in the cold. "Just a little farther." Lyra's eyes opened weakly. "You shouldn't have come this far for me." Ethan smiled softly. "You saved me first. I'm just returning the favor." The cave entrance appeared ahead, carved into the mountainside, shimmering faintly as if it remembered ancient fire. Ethan carried her inside. Warmth greeted them, a strange living warmth, not from fire but from the stones themselves pulsing with golden light. He laid her down gently on a soft patch of moss. "You'll be safe here," he whispered. Lyra looked around, eyes wide. "This place, it's old. My people once called it the cradle of first light. No one has entered here for centuries." Ethan sat beside her, exhausted. "Then it's perfect. No one will find us," she smiled faintly. "No one, Except destiny. He frowned. What do you mean? Before she could answer, a low hum filled the cave. The walls shimmered brighter, as if the mountain itself was awakening. Lyra clutched her stomach, her body glowing softly. It's time, she whispered. Ethan froze. Time for what? Lyra looked up at him with a weak but peaceful smile. For them. The air grew warmer, filled with golden light. Ethan felt the bond pulse inside him, his heartbeat racing in rhythm with hers. He knelt beside her, unsure what to do, but instinct told him not to move, not to interfere. The glow around her grew stronger until it filled the entire cave. And then, as the storm raged outside, 6 small cries echoed through the chamber. Ethan's eyes widened. Lyra lay there, breathing hard but alive, surrounded by 6 tiny glowing creatures. Their fur soft silver, their eyes closed, their tails twitching lightly. They looked like miniature canary, but their features carried something unmistakably human. Rounder faces, smaller frames, fingers instead of claws. Lyra looked at them, tears glistening in her golden eyes. Our children, she whispered. Born of 2 worlds. Ethan couldn't speak. He reached out with trembling hands, touching one of the pups gently. It blinked open its eyes, bright blue like his. Lyra smiled. See, they carry both lights. Ethan felt his throat tighten. They're beautiful, she nodded weakly. They will bridge what war tried to break. The storm outside began to fade, replaced by a strange calm. Ethan walked to the cave mouth and looked out. The first light of dawn was touching the horizon, a rare sunrise on this world, soft and golden. For the first time, the planet didn't look cold. It looked alive. Behind him, Lyra whispered, Ethan. He turned. She was smiling, her fur glowing bright again, her strength returning. They will come, she said softly. Your people, my pack, both will follow the bond. They will find us, Ethan sighed. Then I'll stand between them. Lyra tilted her head. And if they kill you, he smiled. Then they'll have to explain to 6 angry pups why they took their father. Lyra laughed weakly, the sound soft and pure. For the first time since he met her, she seemed at peace. You are not afraid anymore. He shook his head. Not of them. Not of anything. She closed her eyes, resting her head against his chest. Then you have become one of us. Outside, the clouds parted completely, revealing the full glow of both moons and the rising sun. Far away, in the colony control tower, Commander Hale stared at her scanner, confused. Instead of red hostile warnings, the screen now pulsed with calm blue light. A message blinked across the display in alien script, then automatically translated itself. Stand down. Those are not enemies. They are family. The soldiers lowered their weapons. No one knew who sent the signal, human or alien, but no one dared to question it. Back in the cave, Ethan sat beside Lyra, the 6 tiny hybrids sleeping peacefully between them. The storm had ended. Lyra looked up at him and whispered, This is how peace begins, not with war but with a heartbeat. Ethan smiled, watching the pups twitch in their sleep, little tails glowing softly. Then let's make sure it never stops. And as the morning light filled the cave, the legend of the Pack of 2 Worlds was born, a story that would echo across galaxies, of a human and an alien who defied fate, and of the 6 small lives that united everything that had once been divided.